Assessment or marking of history at R level. History at A level is marked through impression. It is not the mere accumulation of points or facts that matters, but the total presentation of the work by the student that matters. Therefore, the student's work is marked as a whole. The impression, whether a student is excellent, very good, good, fairly good, O-level type, just to the point or almost irrelevant, is got through looking at the following two aspects in the student's work. A presentation of the answer. Many students fail to score marks because of the nature of their presentations. A history answer is presented in essay form so as to create a good impression. While presenting a good history essay, the following are major aspects that must be emphasized by the student. Introduction. This should be clear and relevant or limited to the question and not the whole topic. Where the question from. The student should therefore avoid topical introductions. In the introduction, the student should show awareness of the question interpretation. A standpoint. A clear standpoint must also be given after the introduction of the essay in case the question demands for it. A standpoint is a position taken by the student in a double or two-sided question. It must be stated after the introduction, body and conclusion. It must be stated in measurable terms, and the following are examples of common standpoints. To a greater extent. To a bigger extent. To a smaller extent. To a larger extent. Largely. Vital. Paramount. Influential. Primarily. Significant. Landmark, etc. The following are not standpoints. To a certain extent. To a smaller extent. Note, the student should always avoid contradicting the standpoint already taken in the essay. Body. This is the center of the essay and it must be in paragraphs. A paragraph is made up of several sentences. The first sentence should correctly identify the point in relation to the question. Avoid paraphrasing, i.e., complete sentences must be written. The sentences that follow must explain in depth the point as well as give examples. The last sentence must give the analysis or logical conclusion of the point in relation to the question. Note. Make sure that the answers to questions like what, when, where, how, etc. are provided for in the paragraph. The body must have a transitional statement. This must be presented while changing over to the second part of the essay for questions that demand for two sides. Conclusion. The essay must have a conclusion, and this must be made in line with the standpoint already taken in the introduction, especially for questions which demand for two sides. Question interpretation. This refers to the ability of the student to understand what the question demands for. It involves two things, i.e., understanding the examiner's instructions as well as the scope of coverage and time frame. Depending on instructions, there are four major types of questions in history at A level. 1. Analysis questions. These questions demand for an elaborate or detailed explanation of one side of the argument, i.e., they are single-sided. Examples. Explain the contribution of Marie Antoinette to the outbreak of the 1789 French Revolution. Account for the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte to power in France. Why did the ancient regime collapse in 1793? How did King Louis XVI contribute to the outbreak of the 1789 French Revolution? Examine the causes of the Reign of Terror in France. Discussion the causes of the 1789 French Revolution. 2. Synthesis questions. To synthesize means combing separate parts into one whole. Therefore, these are questions that demand for a two-sided answer but with no standpoint. Examples. Explain the causes and effects of the 1789 French Revolution. Discuss the causes and effects of the Reign of Terror in France. Account for the outbreak and success of the 1789 French Revolution. Account for the rise and fall of Maximilien Robespierre. Account for the rise and consolidation of Napoleon Bonaparte in France. Examine the causes and effects of the 1789 French Revolution. 3. Evaluation questions. To evaluate is to assess or judge the amount, quality or value of something. Therefore, these questions demand for a two-sided answer with a standpoint. This standpoint must be presented consistently without any contradiction. Examples. To what event did the Catholic Church lead to the outbreak of the 1789 French Revolution? B. How far did bankruptcy contribute to the outbreak of the 1789 French Revolution? C. Examine the impact of the 1789 French Revolution. D. Assess the role or contribution of the American War of the Independence in the outbreak of the 1789 French Revolution. E. Louis XVI was primarily responsible for the outbreak of the 1789 French Revolution. Discuss. F. Assess, examine achievements of the National Assembly in France up to 1791. G. How successful was Directory government between 1795 and 1799? Note: most of the questions in this category have a stem. Therefore, regardless of the nature of the standpoint taken, the stem of the question must be exhausted by the student before looking at other issues. 4. Unique questions. These questions that do not follow in any of the above categories and therefore they call for special handling. Examples. At the Reign of Terror of 1792–1794 was inevitable. Discuss. B. The collapse of the ancient regime in 1793 was inevitable. Discuss. Inevitable means unavoidable. Questions in this category demand for a one-sided answer but with a stand point. However, the standpoint must be stated as was inevitable because of the following reasons. Note: this categorization, however, does not tell the scope of coverage, which is another crucial element in determining a good impression. This refers to how much a student is supposed to present on a given question content scope, or the time period in which the student is supposed to operate time scope or frame. Examples. How did the 1789 French Revolution affect Europe? How did the 1789 French Revolution affect France? Examine the impact of the 1789 French Revolution on Europe up to 1848. Examine the impact of the 1789 French Revolution on Europe. No time frame. Basing on presentation and question interpretation, there are 7 categories of essays that students may present. Mark Range's category of the essay 0005. Very poor essay, hopeless. This is almost irrelevant. The student does not understand the question being answered. 0609. Just to the point essay. Student shows little understanding of the question. Student's work is sketching or mere outline of points. No analysis. Few points are given. Essay has misplaced points. Paraphrasing of points. 10 to 12. Generalized O-level essay. No standpoint where required. Mixed up points without historical examples. Essay is not balanced, i.e. over side is given instead of 2. Essay does not show the correct frame. 13 to 15. Fairly good essay. Correct interpretation of the question. Limited examples given. Fair coverage of the points expected both in length and depth. Reasoning is fairly good. No logical sequence or presentation of facts. Essay reflects correct time frame. A clear standpoint is given where required. 16 to 18 good essay. Correct interpretation of the question. Well-developed arguments with examples. Essay has a correct time frame. Wide coverage of the points expected. A clear standpoint is given. Logical sequence or presentation of the facts. Good style of communication. 19 to 21 a very good essay. There is accuracy of facts. Mark Range's category of the essay. Reflects correct time frame. A clear standpoint where required. Good flow of ideas. Very good coverage in both depth and length of the expected points. 22-25 excellent essay. Work well analyzed by the candidate. Work presented in a systematic and chronological order. High level of originality and creativity by the candidate. Wide coverage of the expected ideas. Very clear standpoint, time frame is highly respected. In summary, the following are the examiner's expectations from an A-level student. Correct question interpretation. Clear point identification. In-depth or elaborate explanations. Wide coverage or scope. Analysis or conclusion of the point. A clear standpoint where required. A good A-level history student should also be equipped with the meaning of the following terms. Achievements. Weaknesses. failure, strengths, survival, triumph, crisis, conflict, war, rebellion, revolt, revolution, shortcomings, cause, event, nationalism, liberalism, policy, character significance,